Hi, welcome back to Netcode-Hub channel, where we dive deep into .NET development. In my last two videos, we tackled some exciting topics. First, I showed you how to create a gRPC service from scratch, and then we explored how you can convert that gRPC service into a RESTful API, so front end can make an HTTP call to it. If you missed those, then I highly recommend you checking them out to get up to speed. You would find the links in the video description below. Today, we are taking it a step further. I'm going to show you how to make an internal call from a console app to your gRPC service. This is perfect for scenarios where you need an efficient, real-time communication within your systems. Then, we're going to enhance our gRPC service with JWT authentication, adding a secure layer to ensure only authorized access. This is essential knowledge for everyone building secure and scalable APIs. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you're going to have the tools to make authenticated internal gRPC calls directly from a console application. So are you ready to level up your .NET skills? Then let's dive in. So in the previous video, we created a gRPC service, choosing the template, we added our protos, then we configured our interfaces. After that, we created a service that's going to be the implementation. And that is all that we did. We registered a service, and the service was active and we could make a call. The next video, we spoke about how we can convert this app into a RESTful API, so that front end can make an HTTP call to this. So we added two notations files. These are Google files, so annotations.proto, then http.proto. We added this, and in our proto product file, we imported this annotation over here, and we configured or made an exposure of endpoint. Good. Now we're going to look at how we can integrate JWT, and also how we can make an API call without calling this RESTful API. How you can make an internal call to this gRPC service in your project. So first of all, we need to add console app. So you can add any. It could be a web API, it could be console app, it could be anything at all. Okay, let's use console app. Now we're going to right click on solution and add this service, this console app. So let's do that. So now that we have our project created or added to our default project, we need to install packages which will enable us to make this possible. We need 3 packages. We need a google.proto-buff, we need .NET client, and also we need the tools. These packages are there to enable us to do what you want to do today. So let's get them installed. So we need these packages. Google.proto-buff, so install this. When you are done, install grpc.net.client. When you are done, install grpc.tools. So these are the 3 packages that we need for now. So after the installation is done, we have to see our applications listed in the application section. And good, we have them here. So we are done with our installation. The next thing that we're going to do here is, we have our interface, that is our proto file created. We need to inject our proto file in here, and that is our product.proto file. We need to inject it here because this proto file contains some abstractions or maybe the interfaces that we can make a call to. This interface therefore both the server and the client to understand what is going on and what they can call and what they can process. So we need to include that. Remember that we created this proto file in the product service. So we need to locate that product service and add that file in our client here. There's a console app, so we can make a call with it. So let's do that. In order to do it, for organization purpose, let's try to create a folder, and here we're going to name this as protos. Then we can right click on this, then go to add existing item, go to the protos folder in your product service. So this is going to be the console. So you want to locate the product service. This is the product service. Now in the protos, you can see that when you select all, we have the product.proto file in here. This is what we want. So make sure you choose this. So now when we come here, we need to format this a little bit. Now this is just a client, so we don't need all the server stuffs in here. We can implement the empty proto, but for these annotations we don't need them because we are not exposing any RESTful API here. All that you need is quite simple, this file. So we need to change the namespace because it is different. The whole service is demo gRPC service, so let's assume that is the solution name. Okay, this is also possible, we can maintain that, but when you come here, the package name is product, and the whole app here, this is product, so we can change this. So you can just make these changes here, but that is not what we want to focus most here. When you look at this, we have our D2Os overset. Then here we have our product service. Now we have these annotations configured by exposing this to the endpoint. So in this, if you're trying to make a call, we are not making an HTTP call. We rather want to make a gRPC call. So it means we need to remove all this. So let's streamline this. Okay, so we have these interfaces what we need, product proto service. So after we are done adding this, go to right click on the same file, go to properties, and inside the properties we want to make sure we set the build type or compile type as protobuf. Then so from the build action, set to proto compiler. Then from the classes, here it is not for server and client, it's for only clients, so choose client only. So this is going to generate a client file during building. Now let's close this. We need to rebuild this project, so right click on solution, then rebuild solution. Alright, so it is built, so we have to succeeded. Now that we have our file included, let's go and make a call. So when you go to your program.cs file, that is where we can make a gRPC call here, since it's a console app. So you want to do everything here. So let's start working with this. Alright, so we can see that from here we are creating our endpoint, or we are calling this create product endpoint in our service, the gRPC service. Now the first thing that we're going to do here is we need to create a channel. The channel is whereby we configure and specify our gRPC address. So where can you get this address? You go to your line settings in your gRPC, and you can see in there you can copy your address. That's an HTTPS, so you copy this address. and you configure it in here through the channel. Now when you're done with this, we want to get this proto service. Now product proto service client is going to be created automatically when you build a project. So after adding this proto file and building the project, you must have access to this. So we can call this, since we're creating a client, we need to pass in the channel so we can have a complete client ready and created. After that, we want to handle our create endpoint. So that is create, we are adding 2 items in here. So we can call the client, which has all the APIs, both for synchronous and asynchronous. So we're using the asynchronous to get a response over here. And now we want to return the response to the console so we can see. We're doing the same thing. So we're adding 2 products, product 1, product 2. And now when this is being added, we must see the current record with the ID. Currently, we are not having an ID. But as soon as it's done adding, we are going to see the ID. Because when we check our product service, we're going to return the ID of the product. That's our product service. So after it has been added, when we check from our create, you can see we have specified the ID over there. So after it is done, you need to return this response, which is the product which has been added. Okay, so now that we have this, we can run this and check if our create endpoint is active and working. But before we can do that, we must make sure that our service is running already. So let's go to, let's right click on the gRPC service, go to debug and start without debugging. Once this is running, we can go ahead and run the main one. So you can see this running over here at a port of HTTPS, that is 7200, and that is exactly what we have here. Now let's go and run this console app. So choose that and then let's hit on it to get it run. Now when this is running, it's going to display it and quickly get off. We want to maintain the screen, so let's add console.readline. So let's watch here, and you can see that the endpoint has been called, and now we are having the ID of 3 and 4. The first one called, and we had an ID of 1 and 2, but the screen just went off. And now here we have the console, which is returning 3 and 4. When we call this again, you're going to have 5 and 6. Check it out. Yeah, so you can see we have 5 and 6. So these endpoints are working. Now we can call our server endpoint to the create, and it's going to work. Good. Now let's see, after we've create, let's see how to get all. So the next line, so in here, this is what we need to do. We can get the list. Now when you check our service that we created, the interface, the list product takes in this request method. Now this request here is an empty because we're going to get the list. We are not specifying any filtering or anything in it. So we want to get everything from the server, and here we need to pass in this empty. We did this because when you check our solution and when you check this product service, from list of product, let's even go to the protos. From list of product, you can see that here this list product returns empty. It takes in an empty and returns product list, which is a repeated of this product over here. So the same thing applies to what we're doing over here. We need to pass in this empty as a parameter, and now we're going to return the list of products. In that, we want to loop through and now display that. Good. So let's run this again too and check it out. Yes, so you can see that here this was added, ID of 1, 7 and 8 product was added. Now we are having up to 1 up to 8. So this is coming from the server, and based on this list we can get it. The same thing applies if you want to delete it, if you want to update it, it is possible. So you can try your hands on the rest, the 2 or the 3 left, and it's going to work. If you have any issue, put it in the comments below. Alright, so now that we have this, let's see how do we add authentication to this. If I want to protect this endpoint, how is it possible? Can I do it? Let's see how we can integrate that. Now before we can do this, we need to first generate a JWT token, and this token will be added to the header of the client when making a call. So when we are done generating the token from the server, that is going to be the gRPC service, a client needs to call this endpoint over there and get the token. Now when we get the token, we can append this token to the header of an a call, gRPC call in the console app, and then we can make a direct call to the gRPC service. So let's see how we're going to do that. Let's stop everything here. Okay, now we need to first install some packages to the gRPC service. So let's go and do that. So these are the packages that we need. We need a Microsoft.ASP.NETCore.Authentication.JWT bearer. We need authorization, and we need system.identityModels.tokens.JWT. These are the three packages that we need. So pause the video and I install this one after the other. Make sure you do that to the gRPC service. So after restoring this package and reloading it with dependencies, we must see them in the dependencies packages. We have to see them here, and of course we have them over here. Great. The next thing that we're going to do here is we're going to create a proto file which is going to handle our authentication, and in there we need to define our models or our DTOs, and also method that we can generate a token with. So let's go to our protos in the gRPC service. Maybe we can copy, we have this here, we can copy one. Let's copy our product.proto, and in here we're going to change this as, let's say, auth. And now with this we can say that here we want to rename this file. So after we rename this file, we can maintain the syntax, the namespace, and we don't need annotations. We need only the empty one. And here we can say this is authentication. Then within a message, you want to remove this and specify as simple, that is create identity response. We are not going to accept anything from the user, so we're going to say this is string, the token that we're going to have, and this equal to 1. Okay, now we can remove all these DTOs. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create our proto service. So this is going to be auth proto service. Then let's specify only one method or one interface in it. So the method that we have created here takes in empty, and you're going to generate the token and return this. So this is going to be the response, and here the response, we have the token set in here. Okay, so this is all that we need to do to make our JWT service working. After we are done with this, let's go and create implementation for this interface. So let's save this. Let's go to our solution. So in the services folder, that's where we need to do it. So let's do that. But in order for us to get this proto-based file, we need to first build this project. So we make sure that with this auth, we have access properties, then server only, we have it set up in here. Great. After we have this, we can go ahead and build this project. So it is saying that this is not defined, and then the issue is coming from, this should be uppercase, and of course it is done. So that was an issue. So let's go back in here. So that is what we're doing to create our token. You can see we override the method, and in there we have our expiration date. We want to add just an hour. We create our claims. For now, we are not having any different or any specific claim, so we want to add just a sub with a new guild ID over here. Then we want to create our key. Here we need to pass in your secret key, and then we need to create a credential based on the key that we have with the security algorithm. After that, we can go ahead and generate our token. We specify the issuer and the audience, which is the same service as an address for this gRPC service. We need our claim, that's what we have. Expiration is what we have. Then our signing credentials, do we have them over there, and we create it. After that, you want to write a token, convert it into a string, and I'll return it to this create identity response, because that is what this method is taking, and we need to return same instance. Okay, so now that we have this auth service, you can go ahead, then let's register the service. So go to your program, then you see we have product service, so let's add one more, then say authentication service. Good. Then this thing that we're going to do here is, after you are done registering the service, we need to register the JWT service also here. So let's do that. Alright, so we have added our authentication service with our JWT by default. Aside from that, we also specified our token validation parameters by making sure we validate the audience, the issuer, the lifetime, and the signing key. And then we need to provide the issuer and the audience. So we copy this from the address or what we did in the service. Then we get our issuer signing key over here, which takes in the encoding of this UTF-8 of the security key that we need to provide in here. Okay, so after that we have this service registered, we need to go in there and use the authorization service. Then let's add the middleware pipeline for authentication and authorization. So we are done with our service and it is running. Now when we go and run this, we can import our auth.proto and we can now generate a token. Let's give it a try. So we can do that by making sure our gRPC service is running. So let's run this and check our endpoint for authentication out to get the token. Now while this app is starting, let's make sure we have our Postman open, but that's what we're going to use to access. Now click on new, and now let's go for gRPC, and let's see this also run over there, so we can grab the address from here. Let's go and paste it, enable TLS, then let's go and import the proto file. So from here you can see we have our 3 protos. Let's choose the auth. Now let's go and import this. So as soon as you do that, you see we have our generate token service in there, because that is what we define. Now select this, and now we need to invoke this, and which will return a token. Let's wait for it. So we have our token over there. You see that? If I invoke this again, we're going to have a different token. Check this out. Now this ending with R0, right? So you can see from here, if I click on invoke again, let's see, you can see we have a different token altogether. Good. So this is working. Now let's go and authorize this. Let's go and protect our endpoint that we have in our gRPC service with authorized attribute, and then we can make a call here and I'll get a response when we add this token to the header in our client. So in this auth service, not the auth service, go to solution. In your product service, you see that we created another service known as a product service. In here, all that we're going to do is to add a header. So with this, let's say there's a get product by ID. You want to do that. Now from list, we need to add. So let's add authorization. This authorize. Now go to create product. You want to also authorize that. So before you can access this, you must be authorized. Let's run this and check this out again. So we have our service running, and let's go to our postman, and in here this is for auth service. Let's get another one. So here it is also gRPC. We have the same address, so let's grab that, enable TLS, and let's go and import the same proto file. So we need this product, and here we need to create. So let's import this first. Okay, now you can have all the endpoint. Now create is protected, so let's go to message body and let's try to add message. Now if I click on invoke, let's see what will happen. Now check it out. You see we have the status code of 16 and it is saying that unauthenticated. So we're not authenticated. And the HTTP status was at 401. You know, in 401 means you're not authorized. Yes, because we are having this authorized attribute on top, and it should prevent you from accessing this if you are not authorized. So how do we authorize it? Now let's go and add a header. So to do that, we have to add header to the call that we make before we can call that. So let's see. Now in the console app, let's make a call here to create. In the console app, let's run the console app. So we have the service running already. So this is what we need to do. Let's run this service, gRPC service, start without debugging. Then let's make sure we set our console app. So while this is running, we can run this console app. Now when you run this console app, initially it's going to create what's here in the console app. It's going to create 2 endpoints, but it's going to give you an issue 401 not authorized, unauthenticated. You see that? Because we are going to create it, and this create endpoint is protected and we are not passing any token at all, so we're going to have this issue. So maybe we can call an authentication service and I get a token and I'll add a token in here. You see? So that is what you need to do first. Okay, but let's say we have the token over here. So this is our token, so we can grab this. Let's grab this token, copy this. Now let's stop this console app. Now before we create, we want to add this to this, the header right before. So let's handle that. How do we add header? This is quite simple. You can say that this is a header, it's equal to new. You can use this metadata. Now with this metadata, we can specify this. So what is the content type and what is the value? So the content type here is going to be an authorization. So let's say this is authorization. And then we need to specify the value here. And you know, with the bearer, we need to specify the bearer space, and then we pass in our token in there. Okay. So this is what we need to do in the header. Now we need to close this. So we have this as a header. Now within that, how do we use it? We can grab this. Then once you create, aside from creating we can pass in other call options, including the header. So we can pass in this headers here. Now the same thing applies to this. Let's pass in the header over here to make it work. And when reading, we need to also pass in the header. Now let's try this again and check it out. Now there shouldn't be any authorized issue anymore. Yes, and now we have it. So this is protected. Token has been added to the header, and then we can now make a call. So you've seen how we can create authentication token and get the JWT. You've seen how to register that, and also how to make a call, add the token to the header, and how to make a client call through the gRPC service. So you can try your hands on the other one. Let's get a single product, update and delete. And all that you need to do here is, if you want to protect it, then add the authorized attribute. After adding this authorized attribute, you make sure you add the header to the call before you can push it to the gRPC service. And that is it for this series of gRPC. So thank you for tuning in, and now we know how to make secure authenticated gRPC call from a console app using JWT in .NET. If you find this video helpful, then make sure you like and subscribe for more .NET tips and tutorials. And don't forget to check out my previous videos on setting up and converting gRPC services to RESTful API. If you are having in mind that in your service you don't want to call it internally, but rather you want to expose it to the outside world where client or front end can make direct requests using HTTP. The links are in the video description. So let me know in the comments what you would like to integrate this with. Until then, keep coding, and I'll see you in the next video.